Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
There's a new Xbox game out, which
Mhm.
means it was time for me to re-up a month of Game Pass. So I checked out Senua's
Mhm.
Saga Hellblade 2.
Yeah.
This is a very odd game for a list of reasons a mile and a half long.
Okay.
If you're unfamiliar with Hellblade, it came out about 7 or 8 years ago.
Mhm.
It got a lot of attention for the performance and for the way that it showed schizophrenia and kind of psychosis and these types of things with voices in your brain that were going off. And it did a lot of cool things with spatial audio
Mhm.
and just the way that it presented the game. And that's kind of what it was notable for.
And it gave me extreme anxiety, so I never finished it.
It is very good. It is a very, very good game. It is
Yeah.
brutal to get through though.
You really liked the first one, didn't you?
I did really like the first one.
Mhm.
Playing this, I think what I realized is that I really like the first one. And I don't want to call those things gimmicks, but they're kind of
Sure.
you know what I mean? For that type of stuff, not for the actual Hellblade game, is I think what I realized playing through Hellblade 2. Because this game starts with like a 5 minute might be a bit long, like a 5 minute recap of everything that happened in Hellblade. I
Yeah.
remembered none of it.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was like, I feel like in my mind, I have a very vivid picture of what Hellblade was because I liked it. I played it. I think I played through maybe even 1.5, 2 times of it just because it was such a cool experience. But every time I
Mhm.
think about that game, I think about the experience of playing Hellblade, not
Yeah.
physically playing Hellblade or what's going on in Hellblade.
Like the lore of Hellblade sort of thing, of like the
Yes.
actual plot. Yeah.
And even like the puzzles and the way the game played, like completely like, oh yeah, forgot about that. Oh, that's right. Something was going on with her dad. Oh yeah, that's right. Da, da, da. So jumping into Hellblade 2, which is a direct follow up to that, I kind of had this like, I have this love and hate relationship with this game.
Sure.
I very much believe about 60 to 70% of this game is incredible and amazing. And I
Yeah.
very much believe that the other 30 to 40% is utter garbage and trash.
Jeez, dude.
I literally like as I was going through this, it literally
Crazy.
was like I absolutely love everything about this. It is insane and incredible and I love it. And then it's just like, oh my god, this is horrible and boring and I don't know. Should I really finish playing this? It's only like 6 hours long. I'll finish playing this, I guess. I don't really know if I want to keep playing. And then it's like, oh no, this just happened. This is really cool. It's such this weird thing of like you can tell what Ninja Theory is like, this is our thing.
Yeah.
And where it's like, okay, we don't quite know what to do with this is kind of the way I felt about it.
So, are these things that like, because if you're really hot on the first one, are these things that it's doing differently than the first game, or is it just like you're now noticing it more because that like are like the criticisms you have, that really crappy 30%, are the same criticisms you'd have for the first game or not?
I don't know. And that's
Okay.
why like I almost want to go back to play the first one because again, I don't remember that much of that first one because what I remember are that experience of playing it. And some of the experience of playing this, again, it's there, but there's a lot of other weird stuff in there. So I guess I want to start with the good because there's a lot about
Yeah.
this game. Like I said, the majority of this game I absolutely love, think is incredible.
Yeah. Well, how
First
does
of
this game
all,
like play and stuff? Like I have like no concept of like.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's okay. Well, that's more bad side, but that's okay. We can
Oh, okay.
start there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off by asking you how that video game played.
And that's what I think. And if you look at reviews of this, I just glanced at reviews after I was done with it and kind of was poking around them a little bit, and it was like it's very much if you're okay with it just being an experience,
Yeah.
this is insane. If you want like, where's my God of War? It's like this is a 2 out of 10 and I hate it.
Sure.
And it's very much balanced towards that. If you think about a video game as just kind of this like arcade thing that I'm going and putting quarters into and I'm shooting stuff
Yeah.
and beating stuff versus, okay, I'm going to have an experience with this game. I'm going to be into the story. I'm going to see what's going on. It leans heavily that way. So all this to say, to get back to your question, it plays in kind of different phases. So a lot of it is just walking around very linear paths.
Ew.
Yeah. So it's very much a like, we're here. Let's get to that mountain. Now, maybe there's like one little offshoot shortcut that you can go to find
Yeah.
something really quick, but it is like a 10 to 15 minute hike to that next thing in a straight path with very little variance to it.
So what makes that different than like other? I mean, we both like walking simulator games. Like, is there something that they're doing wrong or different than other walking simulator games? Where why is it not good in this one while it's like okay in those other games that me and you
So
talk about and like?
kind of going along with that, this is the best looking video game I've ever played in my life.
Yeah.
You spend about 50% of it in a dark, tiny cave.
Oh.
So you are just going through a very dark, tight corridor cave, which again, for the experience piece, is very claustrophobic. It's very much like you hear your voices going, if your torch goes out, you're dead. Like, what are you doing down here? Like, don't drop your torch, don't drop your torch. So you're getting that feeling, but it is like holding forward on the control stick while you just walk through this dark cave.
Oh. That's
the other,
even like walking simulators kind of give you like a little bit of freedom to walk around. I'd
now,
to be like, yeah.
Now again, you do get to things where it opens up and there's puzzles and there's combat, but
yeah,
it is very much a straightforward game. There are very few parts where you run into like, do I go right or left? Doesn't matter. This is an open area where I can kind of explore for a second. Because again, if you think walking simulators, you get to like this town and okay, we can kind of picture over here. Okay, I got to this big mansion and I can walk into the mansion. I can go check out what's behind the mansion and ooh, maybe there's a garage I can like. This is very much like, just go forward. Just go forward, just go forward, just go
forward.
Not
really, there's no like exploration in your walking.
No, there is.
Gotcha.
Again, there are collectible little things off to the side, but they're very much just like, oh yeah, you went to the right there. It also, because I think it looks so good, you run into lots of like little rocks in Senua's path where you're like, I should be able to go this way. And it's like, no, there's 4 little rocks on the ground.
Yeah, man. Realistic graphic. That is like the biggest issue with like super realistic graphics these days. It's like,
yeah, it feels like it should be open, but it's not.
Gotcha.
Because it's very much just like, and even like just walking around, it is a very, just kind of flat scene. You're basically just kind of walking along the beach and, just rocks. It's set kind of in like a Nordic region. And again, you're either in a cave or you're just kind of walking through these very kind of dry, just rocks, sand. Occasionally there's like one part in a forest, but the vast majority of the game is just kind of walking past rocks.
That's a bummer. Then you get into combat every once in a while, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Oh god, dude. The combat of the first one was not bad. It was not good, but it was not bad.
It was acceptable. This one, the combat feels borderline like a quick time event.
Oh shit. Okay.
Basically what you do is you have your parry block button and you have a heavy attack and a light attack. You basically get 3 hits in and then it cuts to a admittedly very cool, and again we'll talk about graphics and all that, very cool animation, very well animated scene of like you taking this guy down, but it's basically just like block X X X. Cool animation, finishing animation. All the fights are one-on-one. It feels very loose. Like I feel like there's like a delay. Now I did play this on cloud streaming, so a part of that could have been that, but I didn't feel it in the puzzles. I didn't feel it walking around. I didn't feel it at any other point other than combat. And it's just like, it's so bare bones that basically what you end up doing, and you have like I don't remember the name of the gauge, but it's like a super gauge, and when that fills up, you pause time and you can just like hack into them like crazy. So honestly, what a lot of combat was block. Ooh, I have my gauge, pull it, bap, cool animation. New guy runs in from the other side.
Oh, that's weird. It kind of reminds me of like stuff like Rise on a Rome and stuff. Also, this all sounds like kind of like how I don't know how much you remember Order 1886. It seems like it's kind of like I enjoyed that game. I think it gets a lot of slow. Okay, it feels, but like the criticism seemed like very similar to. I think
you could very much put these 2 games next to each other, and I think if you were to put impressions of The Order, impressions of Hellblade 2, I think you would find the similarities are just almost point for point.
Yeah.
Graphics, great. Too short. Kind of bland. Like you could just kind of go through all those things really just similarly there.
Yeah.
You get puzzles. They're puzzles. I mean, I suck at puzzle games and I did not struggle with a single puzzle in this. I just think like, oh, it's over there. It's a lot of environmental shifts. So like, grab an orb, and when you grab the orb, like, this part that was on the ceiling of the cave is now down on the cave. Okay, if you go back to the first one, a lot of it is like matching symbols. So you find like a glyph in the environment, and then you have to go and find the pieces of that. And it's just kind of walking around and, those line up, focusing on it, boop, pop it in, and you're done.
So I mean, so the thing that's kind of like weird about like these games, like walking simulators and stuff, I feel like we don't usually talk about the gameplay so much because there's so much to talk about with like the story that it's telling or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there... It feels like if the story, I don't know anything about the story. I know nothing about how this game, it seems like if the story was so impactful and awesome, like none of this part would matter.
Yep.
But is the story like super awesome and impactful and none of this really matters or what?
Nope.
Oh shit. Okay.
So
Because I was thinking
you
about Indica
you
stuff,
kind
like
of
where I was like, I didn't talk
you've
about any of
gone
the
so
gameplay
far
stuff.
away from my like. I want to talk about good and bad. It's like it's all becoming blurred in my brain here. But so story wise, the basic story is Senua is on a boat, and people had becoming coming to her land and stealing and enslaving people to basically take these island as slaves and sacrifices.
Mhm.
You disguise yourself as a slave to go and take care of these people so that they'll leave your people alone.
Okay.
You get shipwrecked. You end up on the island. Crazy stuff starts happening with the people there. They, of course, try and attack you. You still are trying to ultimately, your main goal is really just to get to this village to tell these people to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically the entire point of the game is to get here. Weird shit ensues in the middle. That's really it, though, in terms of, like,
Okay.
heavy plot. The giants come in, which you saw in a couple of the trailers for this, very early trailers. They showed that off, and it's something that doesn't come until about halfway through, where you get some of this mythology stuff coming in. That is, I think, where it gets interesting, is because
Mhm.
the ending of it, I won't spoil it, plays a lot with Senua's mental state, and they do a good job, because
Yeah.
I think the end of Hellblade 1, she kind of accepts that, like, these voices are here, these voices aren't trying to kill me, they're kind of a part of me, like, this is who I am, I'm going to live with it.
Yeah.
They do a good job of showing that, but then the game also kind of shows you how it's playing with her mental state a little bit as you go through, and some of the more fantastical elements that come into it without getting too spoilery.
Sure.
That's really, really cool, because it does do a lot with, like, who Senua is. Like, I'm killing people to prevent them from killing my people. Is that okay? And you've got, of course, the voices are still there. That's still a very cool, unique thing to this game of, like, four voices are like, oh yeah, you're doing great. And the other voice like, no, you just killed that guy. Like, what the hell? Like, so you've still kind of got some of that going on. Very cool as well. But yeah, just the story in general is just kind of fine. It introduces other characters. I could not tell you their names. I could not tell you much about their personality other than it is girl who leads one tribe, guy who is son of guy you're trying to find, like, just kind of those standard fantasy archetype characters.
So
not much there.
Yeah, so it sounds like like the experience of playing game is not overcoming the gameplay stuff
No,
like
and I
maybe
think
it did in the first game.
And I think that's where it comes back to. Is I think the first
Gotcha.
game, and that's where I was trying to kind of get to at the beginning, where I'm saying that the first game, the stuff I remember was so impactful because I'd never seen those types of things done before, that I think it carried a lot more of the game than I thought at the time.
Sure, fair. Yeah.
Where in my mind I was like, this is a great game, look at all these cool things it's doing, and now seeing it again, I'm getting more of the like, but was it, or was it just that I had a unique experience with this game, and now that experience isn't as unique because I've done it before, I know where this is going, I know how this is happening, I know what's happening with it, and when you boil it down to just the game, it doesn't seem like there's that much there.
So it kind of seemed like the hook for this one is like the graphics are good. Is like they're
yeah.
Is that the hook for heading? Is that the new hook? Is that like the new hook for this?
I mean, I think everything that you look at with this game should start with that this is the greatest looking video game that's ever been made. Like,
okay, sure.
I have no hesitation in saying that this is the greatest looking video game I have ever played. So I do think that does a lot of heavy lifting. There are a couple of set piece moments in this that are just like incredible.
Yeah.
The opening in and of itself is literally just this boat being destroyed, Senua getting like sucked underwater, her wrestling these people. It's just an incredible opening scene. There's a couple when you deal with the giants, the way that she handles the giants in this are just that epic feeling of like, okay, this is a big moment. And they handle each of them a little bit differently than the last, which is kind of cool. So they never play the same. Again, those moments just make you go like, wow, like everybody needs to see this moment.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I love a lot of this game, but there's a lot you got to get through to get there.
Gotcha.
And it's just one of those things where it's just like, I honestly believe if you took this game and you made it a 3-hour game, it would be up there with like Rebirth and those things for like my game of the year, because there is that much good in it. But as a 6.5 hour experience, it's just like if we went through and we trimmed it, we adjusted it, we kind of repaced it out, I think there is an incredible game in here. And I just think that we got so much stretch, we got so much of that, like, well, we need to make it longer than 3 hours. Well, what if we add in another walking section here? What if we make the cave a little bit bigger? What if we add in like some of the combat encounters, again, like it just feels like a quick time event, but some of them are 7 or 8 guys just, okay, I took care of that one. Okay, new guy runs in, new guy runs in, new guy runs in, new guy runs in, and you're just by there like, I just don't care. Just black. Oh, focus. Okay, they're done. Move on. So
Yeah.
it's a weird game to talk about just for me because I genuinely think there are parts of this that are incredible, flawless,
Yeah.
like amazing. But it's just, for lack of a better word, I was just so bored playing it for so much of it that it was just like it felt like one of those things where I think you talk about it every now and then where like you have to have the dips in a game.
Yeah.
But like if the dips are just hard dips, like far dips, like you get that like whoo, and you get this like super high, like all right, now we're rolling, and then you're just like,
Yeah.
it's just, it's not that like even keel, like okay, like this part's a little slower, that's okay, like we'll get to,
Yeah.
it's like oh man, like
This part just not this straight.
this
not
part just
good.
needs to not be here. Like it's taking too long. Like I don't need a backstory on this character. It's just, I don't know. It's such an odd game to me. I just don't really. I'm having a hard time even like deciding how I feel about it. I finished it yesterday, and I'm still just like, is it like one of the better games I played this year, or was I just kind of bored the whole time? But I really liked those moments. It's just it's such an odd thing.
Well, I think it's even like more odd, just like your whole review, because I know how much you like and play, and both of us play those like other walking simulator games. So that doesn't even seem to be the issue with it, which is like, and that was the thing I was, because like when I, like people, like you said, people's expectation were like, I got a war or an action game, like the combat's not, I was like, okay, that's fine. But like, if it's a walking simulator game, you do have different expectations, but it seems like you're even saying, hey, I don't even know if it's meeting that necessarily. Yeah.
It's one of those things where I feel like it's trying to be in, it's being pulled in too many directions.
Sure.
Where it's like, okay, no, it's a puzzle game. Well, no, but we need to have combat in it for it to really get like some mass appeal. Okay, well, but really we want to like walk and talk and have Senua sit with these voices for a little bit. Okay, well, really, and all those things just kind of get muddled together to create this thing that's like not quite the sum of its parts. Where it's like, okay, like 10 out of 10. I'm thinking of like old like reviews from like 15 years ago. It's like graphics 10 out of 10, story. Like it'd just be one of those where it's like, I don't even know what the hell this averages out to. Some of it's a 10, some of it's a 3, some of it's a 5. I don't know. It's just
that's why I don't.
That's why I don't like scores, because it's so weird to put a number on it. But anyway, if you have Game Pass, there's no reason not to check it out. If nothing else than just the jaw dropping opening scene of this, it's just one of those like, whew, this is a game. Okay, this is incredible. Like, it's that, if nothing else. Again, give it some time. It gets good, it gets bad. It's such a weird game. But we are Workforce Gaming. Leave a comment below, subscribe to our channel. There's a link to support us on Coffee as well. We'll see you later.
Bye.